as a teacher who doesn't teach remotely, and you do, what issues are going to occur for me that I'm not going to think about?
Oh, that is a good question. Okay, for even myself, so I've got three children. One's in high school and two are in primary school. So straight away, if we go to online learning, I don't have enough computers in my house to have them all doing online learning at once. So I think that's a big thing that we need to think about. You know, the families the kids are coming from, are they all in secondary? Do they all have their own device? They might not have their own device. So it's all well and good that we do timetables for them, but then that might clash with the younger siblings' timetables as well. So at distance education, when we get families in, we have that scenario. So we actually create a family timetable where we can see what child's having what lesson at what time and with what teacher, to kind of share that online, whether it's a Zoom or a satellite or an Adobe Connect, a Google Hangout lesson as well. So that's something to think about as distance education teachers, that, you might have your role and your list of students, but the logistics of pulling it off at the home can be quite difficult, and we've got to support the supervisor, whether that be the parent, a carer, grandparent, aunt, as much as possible. So just be prepared to become very resourceful in regards to that kind of stuff. Another thing would be just the welfare side of it. It's one thing to deliver curriculum, but we've got to be really prepared and be vigilant. That's why I always like to have team teachers, and just seeing what kids are posting, if there's anything going on in the background, whether they're having private chats. There's a whole behaviour thing that comes into it too, because it's all well and good to have them all grouped together, but they get excited and they might be talking about irrelevant stuff while you're delivering the best lesson ever, but they're not that engaged. So sometimes, that's things to think about as well. So I'd be really organised with my curriculum, because then you've got all this other stuff to contend with the technology. Kids might go, I've run out of data, and you could go, oh, well, you could go to your library or the Maccas, but then you've got social distancing as well. So it's kind of just be prepared to be really resourceful and have, a few options up your sleeves in terms of delivery, because you will be challenged with, there'll be stuff that I haven't mentioned that will arise, and you go, oh my gosh, I just don't know how to do that, or I didn't even think of that. What's our school's policy around that type of thing? So I've had to mute a few kids in my Google Classroom because they were putting irrelevant comments in there. So that's, you ring them, you talk to them, this is, inappropriate behavior. So then you've got to speak to the parents about that as well, log that. Where does that get logged? So so there's lots of different things to think about.
So all your normal classroom issues then don't just disappear when kids are at home.
No, if anything, if they're left to their own devices, or if you've got multiple children in one house, the supervisor is very active and doing the best they can. That doesn't mean that everyone's going to behave themselves under the one roof.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed though, with a lot of the stuff that you were talking about there, it kind of sounded like it happens during the teachers presenting. Would you advise trying to get rid of some of that presenting so that the learning is more, I'd say student-centered, but that's not necessarily the correct way, but either recording the video or having learning that doesn't necessarily involve you giving direct instruction?
You definitely have to have learning that involves not direct instruction. So one of the things we've found with Zoom was kids could chat behind the scenes. So on Zoom with your chat, make sure they can only chat to the host only type of thing. So there's features to be able to turn that off as well. I think it's really important as distance education teachers or online, feeding kids information, you don't get stuck in, here's the work, here's the video, here's the work, here's the video, because that just becomes monotonous. They'll lose interest. So they're still naughty sometimes when you're teaching them type of thing, and it's not always naughty, it's mischievous type of thing, and they can be naughty online when you leave them. It just comes back down to knowing who you've got on your Zoom and asking questions all the time. So when you're doing that explicit, say, teaching, or you're challenging their thoughts around the content, that's where you've got to be, take a role at the beginning of your lesson so you know who's there. And I just kind of rotate through the role depending on the question and just make sure everyone's getting asked a question or asked for their thoughts or their opinions or an answer the whole time I'm delivering a Zoom lesson, just to know that they're, one, not being left out, but I haven't forgotten about them, but challenging them to see that they're on the ball type of thing. So that might be, if you turn a video on, that usually chews up more data. So I usually leave the videos off, and they're just their little names and microphones. But when I get them to ask questions, they can turn all of that on type of thing. Or if I'm getting nothing, I'll just turn the video on myself and find that we're talking to an empty chair. So then that requires follow up after the lesson to ring and go, oh, I noticed, you logged on, but you weren't there type of thing. So that's why I do like Google Documents, because if we are working in a document, I can actually see who's there and actually if they're in the right place. So I'll post an assignment, but I might open up 10 assignments in my classroom and share my screen with my kids so they can see that I'm watching everything that they're doing as well. It's a bit more accountability for them.
Yeah, I tend to find with those types of things, if you tell the students the kind of access that you have to those documents, it tends to reduce the amount of stuff that they then test. Because as soon as you go, look, I can see every time you write anything, it gets time stamped, it's got your name on it, and it's there. Even if you delete it, I can still go back through the version history and see everything, or any kind of access that you've got. When you pull up everyone's screen at once, for example, it just makes them go, okay, there's no point trying to do stuff. They know they're going to get caught, really.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, which then, it's in one sense, it's almost easier to manage to a certain extent than your classrooms, where you've only got two sets of eyes in your classroom when you're looking around.
Yeah, that is true. But also too, I've heard the primary teachers delivering awesome lessons, and the little kids are sitting there and they might touch the camera and then knock it off, and that's a whole nother lot of behaviour for the poor little primaries that are learning via distance as well. But their supervisors are very good and kind of get onto that. And the teachers, are very skilled at asking questions and seeing the wriggling happening before it actually turns into someone disappearing. So it's still that skill set of knowing your students and how they learn.
It's a good skill set to have, that one. So before we go then, Kelly, is there anything else, any other advice that you can give to teachers who are about to, or may need to at some point, either prep their lessons or need to close their school for any number of reasons at this point, so that they can deliver some remote teaching? Any other just great advice you've got before we go?
Just ask lots of questions of each other, and you'll soon find out, the way one school's doing it might not work for your school, but you'll take something away from the way that they're doing it. So just lots of talking, lots of connecting with people either in your subject area or around your school area. Touch base with people who've been there and done that. But definitely be brave. Don't be scared. Just push a button and see what happens. Make sure all your work, I would say, if you're delivering it online, is saved somewhere, whether it's on a hard drive or in a Google Drive somewhere, because then when you post it on your platform or you create it on your platform, you've still got the original somewhere. If everything fails or the technology blows out or you press a delete button, which most platforms have beautiful version histories, you can go back and find what you wanted, but sometimes that can be very disheartening when you're creating material. But definitely be brave, press lots of buttons, and be patient with your students as well.
Now, my final question that I actually have, I know there's going to be context where this happens. So let's say a student has to work from home and their parents are around or whatever, but they just all decide as a family that who cares what learning happens during this time, because it's a stressful time. There's other things for them to worry about. What kind of advice would you have for how you might address that?
I would probably, because I'm just thinking about the logistics of my family as well, because I've got one high school, two primary, and then I didn't even encounter that my husband would be sent home to work as well. I'm like, oh my God, we're all going to be in the one house and not everyone's going to have a screen. I would just kind of build in a rotation in regards to who's on the computer at what time, rotate around. Definitely have your breaks, get outside, as a family group, just to take a bit of a breath, do some exercise, have little brain breaks type of thing. But I definitely would really structure it like a school day. So everyone has really clear boundaries of what the expectations are, because it's really hard to turn your home into a school and the kids are going, well, is this home time or is this school time type of thing? I don't know. So I definitely would. And maybe try, if it is possible, to give everyone their own work space. But in saying that, I wouldn't let everyone, you might do, if students are doing a particular work where it is that written work, or they're just working through something on their computer but they're not online, then you may let them go into the bedroom. But I wouldn't let anyone who's online in a private space while I'm at home. Everyone would be in the kitchen if they're online. But yeah, if they are having their own spaces, you might dedicate particular spaces for particular activities, but definitely make a routine and structure so they know that, nope, this is school time. I've heard of different kids actually getting up and getting dressed in uniform. So they still stay at home and do their distance education, but because they're in uniform, they know that, okay, that's school time type of thing. And so when it's all finished, they get changed into their casual clothes, and then they know, okay, it's home time. So that could be a solution, possibly.
Yeah. And I think with the question I was asking, I was more kind of directed towards as a school, what do I do? I have a family that I've sent home, and the family just don't care how much learning the kids do. Either because, like you were saying, there's two parents at home that also have to work, because they're working distantly, maybe, or remotely, and then it was more what advice you have for teachers and schools when they're doing that.
Well, we have a monitoring week. So weeks 4 and 8, we monitor students. So that's when we ask all the teachers to go back through their records and look at the students in regards to attendance to lessons. And some of our students may not have a phone lesson or a Zoom lesson as such, because of the nature of their enrolment with us, or they might be travellers and not have access to all that. So what happens is every week 4, week 8, we have monitoring. Have they engaged with our lessons? Have they returned any work? That type of thing. So if that hasn't happened, bless you.
I even muted myself so that they wouldn't come through.
All right, sorry.
Right, it's actually a video, so I don't know what I was thinking.
That's okay.
And now it's gone, so it's all good. It's all good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So definitely there's a big welfare component there. You need to kind of be monitoring. And with that monitoring, if one kid across multiple KLAs comes up as a concern, that's when you'd have a student advisor that would ring that particular family and go, oh, look, what's going on? Is there something we should know about? We haven't, there's not much work coming in as well. So yeah, as a school, definitely your student advisors, your welfare people need to be supported by the whole staff and knowing, who's returned what's come in, that type of thing. So once again, a whole nother level of logistics in regards to monitoring students and welfare and checking outcomes and are met. And things like that as well. So it's a tough gig.
Yeah. I think my approach is generally to have really high expectations.
Yeah, definitely.
But then have a massive amount of grace as well, because reality is, if your school closes because of coronavirus and you've got 2 weeks at least that you're going to have kids working at home, and parents would then working at home, to allow that family grace in the sense that the kid's not going to get as much work done as they would normally get done. That the family's got a lot of other things they've got to juggle too. Getting food, getting toilet paper can be difficult at the moment. So, if those stresses exist, I think they're more important. I think life and family are more important than 2 weeks or 3 weeks, however long it ends up being, worth of learning. So, for me, I think the approach of, yes, have high expectations. You expect them to be there. You expect them to get work done. chasing them up, doing all those types of things is really good, I think. But I think in the end, if it ends up being your school is closed for 4 weeks and the kid does nothing, in reality, that's only 4 weeks worth of work that they've missed, and it's a very exceptional circumstance and all those types of things. I'm pretty sure that we should just allow them to have that happen. I think I don't think we should, obviously in a context where it's actually a legitimate life stuff that's going on, not just someone who just went, I'm 17 and couldn't be bothered. That's a different story, I think. But when there's family and little kids particularly who are struggling to get on and to do work or to do their paperwork that was sent home or whatever because of what's around them, I think expect a lot, but in sense of how you set it up and how you approach them and how you help them to get the work done. But in the end, I think extending that grace and allowing them to either catch stuff up, just submit assignments, doing the minimal things that are needed in order to meet your state's requirements, which here is NESA. So I think that's kind of my approach to things, because I've got a particular value system where family is more important than school.
Yeah, and that's true, and that's a fact for a lot of our families, especially our rural remote. If it's mustering or if they're floods or in drought, sometimes school does come second. But I guess it's our job as teachers just to create or give them every opportunity to engage. And once we've created those opportunities and we're following it up and we have, all our, we're meeting, I guess, our welfare requirements, our duty of care. I just think I agree with you. Definitely family is more important, but as educators, we've got to give them every opportunity to be able to access that. And sometimes that's really exhausting, because you can have a group of, say, Year 9 students that have various backgrounds, but it's differentiating your work for them to be able to access it and stuff like that. So as an online distance educator, it's about creating opportunities for engagement, and hopefully that's what we do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us. I really appreciate your time.